Today I thought I'd do another creepypasta review, this time of Mr. Widemouth by Perfectcircle35. Now, Mr. Widemouth centers on an unnamed protagonist who starts to narrate about his childhood. Now, he and his family were always traveling a lot, so he obviously never got a chance to truly make any friends. So, anyway, he recites of one memory he had of when he was young, like around 5 years old, around the time when he got mono, and it's this a story that he isn't sure is true or not. Like, part of him knows that it is, but another part of him believes that maybe it was the mono, causing him to hallucinate or whatever. Anyway, he has this memory of meeting this, really small gremlin-like creature named Mr. Widemouth, who appears friendly at first and is kind of funny looking. And so, obviously, since the main protagonist never got a chance to truly make friends, he decides to make a friend of Mr. Widemouth. The most peculiar thing, though, is that anytime either of his parents showed up, Mr. Widemouth would instantly vanish, saying that if his parents saw him, that they wouldn't let him hang out with them anymore. All is fairly innocent until one day, Mr. Widemouth decides that he wants to play a game, a very dangerous game, where the main protagonist has to stand outside of a stand in front of a window at 2 stories high, and if he imagines hard enough, he'll be able to jump out, and a trampoline will be at the bottom waiting for him. But he has to be, his imagination has to be strong enough for it to happen, or else it won't work. Now, of course, the protagonist being 5 years old, part of him is like, oh, maybe there is some truth to this. Maybe this actually will work. But there's another part of him saying, no, this is too crazy. This isn't possible. So afraid of what might happen to him, he decides to tell Mr. Widemouth, I don't have enough imagination for now. Then one day, Mr. Widemouth decides to teach him how to juggle, but the thing he wants him to practice with is a set of knives. So obviously the main protagonist is like, whoa, okay, I cannot do this. My parents will kill me. I'm afraid might get hurt. No, I cannot play your game with you anymore. I'm sorry. And that's when the protagonist realizes, okay, maybe this guy doesn't have my best interest at heart. So of course the protagonist decides that he doesn't want to play with Mr. Widemouth anymore. But that doesn't stop Mr. Widemouth from trying to coerce the protagonist into playing one of his games. Like, he'll hide under his bed and whisper to him in the dead of night, trying to manipulate him to, playing one of them. Even saying stuff like, hey, I put a trampoline underneath the window so you'll safely land even if your imagination doesn't work. But, the protagonist knows, okay, there's some, at this point, they know that, okay, there's some, sinister about this, thing's intentions, I better not listen. But the real horror is when the protagonist returns to the place where he originally saw Mr. Widemouth and goes to a path that Mr. Widemouth told him about, saying that it was a special place he took a lot of his friends to, that he hoped to bring the protagonist to one day when he was ready. And when you find out what it is, holy shit, is it just the most jarring, most horrifying way to wrap things up. And I feel like Mr. Widemouth is also somewhat of an allegory, or whatever you want to call it, for child predators, because at one point he tells the protagonist that there's this, fun game that they can play together that their parents can find out about, which sounds eerily similar to wording used by child predators, how they promise that they can of something that sounds fun and promising when really it isn't, and might often say stuff like, oh, your parents can never find out about this. And the promise is usually of something fun and exciting or promising, like maybe, they'll give them candy, or in the case of Mr. Widemouth, there's a special game that they can play together. which is unfortunately how a lot of children fall into the traps of child predators. But yeah, that was my review of Mr. Widemouth by Perfectcircle35. It was a thoroughly enjoyable pasta to read. I was fairly entertained by it. And to top it off, at a pretty horrifying conclusion. But yeah, I give Mr. Widemouth by Perfectcircle35 an A. Not the greatest pasta ever. I still think some of the greatest are maybe Candle Cove and String Theory, but this was pretty damn good. Also one I grew up with as well. Anyway, thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and sub for more content.